Hey guys, coming at you today with nuts. Sweet, savory, delicious, and of course, keto. So let's get started. I got 3 recipes / techniques with 3 different kinds of nuts that are keto friendly. The almonds are something I enjoyed before keto. If you ever had the Blue Diamond Thai sweet chili almonds, they are by far my favorite spice nut that you can get at a grocery store. Come to find out, there's not so good ingredients in them. To make my recipe, I literally looked at the ingredients on the back of a Blue Diamond container. There's almonds and then vegetable oil, sugar, salt, onion, garlic, tomato, molasses, multidextrin, it's basically sugar, yeast extract, which is another name for MSG, and then citric acid, peppers, chili pepper, paprika. I just had to swap out the bad ingredients for good ingredients and mix all this stuff together into a dry rub basically that we're going to be putting on these nuts, and then you just bake them. Down in the description box below, I already figured out my quantities of all the spices that I need, and instead of the molasses, obviously we're going to use brown sugar and then regular sugar for the granular monk fruit sweetener. And then we don't have granulated soy, we're just going to be using some soy sauce. And I actually used one spice in my spice mix that I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to find. It's Kissed by the Sun is the brand name. It had lemon, paprika, and red and green peppers in it, garlic and onion, which that's half of our ingredients right there. You know, I used that, I grinded it up real good because it had like flakes of onion and stuff in it, and I wanted to have it powdered for this. I'm gonna put that in the description, but if you can find any kind of seasoning that has the seasonings listed that we need for the almonds, you can use that in place of the Kissed by the Sun. The first ingredients on the list were pretty much garlic and onion, so I added more onion and garlic and then use this. So that is all mixed up in here. Like I said, the recipe is below, and then you're just gonna be mixing this with almonds. And because we don't have the tomato powder, I'm gonna do a little bit of sriracha. And there's also nothing really spicy in this except for the chili powder. So it's not super spicy. Sriracha, or you can find a seasoning that has tomato powder in it, which I have found those. So we're gonna start by preheating our oven to 300 degrees. So all we're gonna do is a ratio here. You're just gonna double it if you wanna make more. And I suggest making big batches because I literally made huge batches of a bunch of different flavored nuts, and then I jarred them and labeled them and gave them away as Christmas gifts. I'm gonna do 2 cups of almonds. So 4 tablespoons of the dry seasoning. And there's a lot of different methods to doing spice nuts and candied nuts. This is my preferred method. It's like the simplest and easiest, the least amount of ingredients. Like all you need is a spice mix and then a little bit of water or oil, which I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of water and 2 tablespoons of oil to this. And of course, instead of the vegetable oil, we're gonna be adding good oil. I wouldn't suggest extra virgin because it has a really intense flavor to it. So 2 of that and 2 of these. You can forego the oil altogether too. I've done that and it works just fine. Give that a little whisk. You want it pretty much like a paste to coat all of your nuts. And that's it. You just dump in your nuts and give them a toss and lay them on a silk pat or a parchment paper lined baking sheet. And the hardest part about this process is just you're baking it and you just have to take it out of the oven and just stir. And that's because the top will get dried and cooked and the bottom will still stay kind of wet. So you just got to give them mixes every couple of minutes. And when they're done, you'll see that it's all dried up and they're all coated nicely. Just give that a toss in there. Oh yeah, don't forget your soy and sriracha. I'm gonna measure these just to make sure I have the right amount down in the description box. I'll start with a teaspoon of soy. The mix does have salt in it, so you wanna be careful with the soy sauce you use. And I don't even think I opened this yet. I got it from Thrive a couple days ago and haven't even opened it. Probably should have thought about that before I started the video. I'm gonna do a teaspoon of sriracha too. And we're gonna give this a little taste before we put it in and adjust your seasonings to taste. Who knows, you might like things spicier than me. I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to spice. This is the first time I've made them keto, but it's really not any more difficult than making them regular. You just swap out the sugar. But I make these for my boyfriend for anniversaries and birthday gifts. I thought that was cute for a little gift filled with Thai, I think I did pecans? and peanuts. So that's a good Christmas birthday gift. If you know someone in your life that really likes pine nuts, or like I said, I'm making 3 different recipes here, but this is super customizable to any flavor you want to do. You just add different seasonings. This is just a really easy technique, and you can make dozens of different kinds of nuts. So you just lay that on a silk pat and you put it on as thin as you can. Try to get like 1 layer. The more you get them spread out, the faster they'll cook. So yesterday when I did the small batch, it took 15 minutes total. This might take a little bit longer because as you can see, they're not touching. And yesterday I had even less on there. Like I said, you're just looking for it to be dried and nice and crusted. That's all there is to it. We're gonna pop this in and we're gonna get started on another recipe. Sprinkle over all your delicious seasoning. I'm gonna set it for 10 minutes and then we're gonna toss them. Another 10 minutes, toss them, see where we're at. While that's going, we're gonna get started on another recipe. It's just kind of a technique, and it's actually something that my chef showed me, and I am in love with these. Like, I could eat them by the handful. They're almost dangerous because it's using pine nuts, which are expensive and high in fat, high in calories, but they're so good. So you gotta make sure you measure out your portions. Don't just sit down with these because you'll eat the entire thing. So these are garlic roasted pine nuts. Now I'm gonna get these going. I just wanna get them toasted in the oven, but the hardest part is the garlic part. All you gotta do is toast these guys up. I'll put it in now with my almonds, and because it's at such a low temperature, it's gonna take a while for these to toast, but I'm gonna keep checking on them. Okay, so for the other part of these pine nuts, I'm using my mandolin, but you can just do this by hand. It's a little bit harder to get really even slices. You want them pretty even because you're gonna be cooking them in oil, and if you have thicker ones, they won't cook as fast as the thinner ones will. Now, garlic cloves, in the restaurant industry, we have whole tubs of peeled garlic that make this really easy. Unfortunately, I don't have those. I would never go through that much garlic. So we gotta try to get these peeled without breaking them. Usually I just crush them and the skin comes off, but can't do that here. If you do have a mandolin, be very, very careful. It is super sharp and will take off your fingertips. And this is a little bit dangerous of a thing to cut. I'd say that's a pretty good width. You want them pretty thin. You want them basically to crisp up in the oil and become like a garlic chip to mix into your pine nut. So I'm gonna cut all these up. Careful of your fingers, very careful. I get very dangerously close to my blade, but it's because of practice. I don't suggest doing that. There's 2 cups or 8 ounces of pine nuts. So I'm gonna do like 4 medium-sized cloves, or I have 2 small and 2 big. So that kind of equals 4 medium. This is kind of up to you too. I mean, you can do kind of however much or little garlic you want. Okay, so I got 2 more here, and then we're gonna be going over to the stove for the next part. I find it's easier to peel from the root end. Start at the tip that doesn't have the root on it. So there is all our garlic cloves. We're gonna place this in a little saute pan. You just want enough oil to make sure they're floating. Don't worry, we're not gonna use all that oil in our nuts, but we can save it to season up some pasta, garlic and olive oil, parm, which I've made with the hearts of palm pasta, which I love. It's such a good spaghetti substitute. We're gonna just put this over medium-low and let it simmer away, and I'll show you when to pull it. While we're here, I'm gonna give our nuts a toss. You can see how wet they are still. That was 10 minutes. You just want to get them all mixed up again. Spread them out real good. Back in for another 10 minutes. When it gets to this point, it's going to go pretty fast. And you want to have something ready where you're putting everything together to put this into so it stops the cooking of the garlic. You want to pull them right when they're turning brown, which pretty much all of them are now. I'm going to pull it and put it into a dish. You want them just as they're turning brown. So take them out of the pan. They'll continue to cook and they'll get a nice golden brown. So toasting pine nuts, if you're just making this recipe, do it at 350, 5 minutes, you're done. Because it's at 300, it's going to take longer, but I would suggest doing it at 350. Then the only other ingredients in this, salt and pepper. Okay, so that took about 14 minutes at 300, but you can see they're nice golden. Just add that to your bowl. You're gonna get a big spoon. You want all the garlic and some of the oil. Just toss all this together, add some salt and pepper. You can use any kind of your favorite salt. A little bit of pepper. You know, taste them, see if they have enough salt on them. A little bit more salt. Otherwise, they are delicious. These are taste again. Time to flip some almonds again. As you can see, they're almost dried up. Because we are doing so many here, do another 10 minutes. We'll see where we're at. So these pine nuts will last in your pantry as long as you want to keep them there. The only thing that's going to happen is if at some point it might go rancid because of the oil, but that will take over 6 months. Believe me, they're not going to last that long in your house. These are amazing. So besides just snacking on these, this is actually something we put on pasta in the restaurant, but it would also be a great addition to like a cheese and meat board for a family get together or something. If you want to share them, you might not want to, but in lieu of crackers, you get that crunch. Okay, on to recipe number 3. Now recipe number 3 is just a sweet candied nut. And the reason I only did 1 sweet and 2 savory is that was 2 different techniques. You can do that garlic technique with any kind of nuts. Same thing with the Thai. You can do any kind of spice you want. Just make sure you use good sugars and just use the same techniques. So this one, I'm doing a candied pecan recipe, but you can literally add any flavoring you want to it. I did an espresso, brown sugar, cashew. Oh my God, last year, everybody loved them. You can do cinnamon, you can do vanilla, anything you can come up with to add to these nuts, you can do it. The basic thing is, it's just sugar and water, and I make like a paste. So we'll do 3 cups of pecans here. So we'll start with a ½ cup of the golden monk fruit sweetener, which I've been meaning to buy the other kinds. The one, they look like real, like you can pack it brown sugar. So that might even be better to use, the Sucre Gold. I've been meaning to try that, but I have not yet done so. We'll start with a ½ cup of the golden monk fruit. And I'm gonna do ¼ cup of water. I'm just gonna mix that together. And I'm gonna add some cinnamon to this. So I want some cinnamon pecans. I'll start with a ¼ teaspoon. Normally I would just sprinkle it in and see where we're at. I want it a little bit thicker than that, so I'm gonna add another ¼ cup of Canto monk fruit sweetener. Time to flip our nuts again. Yeah, I'd say they are about done. They're nice and dried out. It tastes like sweet Thai chili. I'm gonna let these cool and they'll get even more hard and crusty on the outside once it dries. Go from trying one thing to another. I'm gonna try this, see if there's enough cinnamon in it. That's pretty good. Dump in our pecans. What do you guys say? I don't know. I go back and forth. Just want to get these all nice and coated in here. And we're gonna do the same procedure as the almonds. Whoop. Try to escape. And this will just kind of melt and caramelize in the oven, and you're just going to want to keep stir it up. You want to get all that coating on everything. So it's 3/4 cup of brown sugar. Sorry, golden monk fruit sweetener. I just say sugar. I'm a pastry chef. It's sugar, sugar, sugar. ¼ teaspoon cinnamon, ¼ cup of water. And that's it. Time to pop in the oven. So I'm going to do 10 minutes. I'm going to stir them up. Another 10 minutes, stir them up, see where we're at, and they should get nice and caramelized and crispy on the outside. Okay, they've been in 30 minutes. As you can see, there's still some liquid, but as they cool, I'm going to keep stirring them, and they're going to get this coating that's going to dry on there. You can see my spatula has a bunch of dried sugar. That's what's going to happen to the nuts, and they're going to become sugar coated. So like I said, this is just a base recipe. You can, as far as your mind can take you, you can do different kinds of caramelized nuts. They're already starting to firm up. And almost all the liquid is on the nuts and is drying up on there. And once they're cooled, keep them in an airtight container on your shelf and they will last. Not too long because you'll probably be snacking on them a lot. They are good and sugary though. I would say, I'm gonna write down in the description box below, these almonds, I thought it'd be good because there's oil in the Blue Diamond ones, and I actually forgot it when I was testing. So I'm like, oh, add some oil, they'll get, you know, more coated. Not the case. So I did these yesterday and they're super coated with seasoning. It all stuck to them. And all I used was water. So I'm gonna put down in the recipe that you should just use water. Don't even worry about the oil, which that just adds more fat anyways, and nuts are already fatty as it is. The Locanto does have some erythritol in it, so you do get a little bit of cooling effect when you eat these. Stevia blend probably wouldn't have like a cooling effect, but some people don't like the flavor. It's up to you what you want to use. So here are all our nuts done. Like I said, you can do any kind of flavoring on these nuts. Vanilla brown sugar, maple, butter, or butter rum. The options are endless. To talk about macros on these guys a little bit, the almonds, I'm just following the Blue Diamond carbs. It says 2 grams of net carbs per serving, which is an ounce. Spices do have some carbs, but not very many. And the pine nuts, I looked up, there's 1 gram of carbs in a clove of garlic. So we did 4 cloves, and this is 8 servings. So you get a half a clove maybe per serving, 1.5 grams for that. In the pecans, we didn't add any carbs to, so they're only 1 gram of carbs per serving. So there you have it. A bunch of different keto nuts that you can try for your holiday charcuterie boards or make as gifts for people. They love them. I hope you enjoy these recipes and give them a try for yourself. If you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button down there, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell if you want to join me on my lives, or make sure you see when my videos come out every week. And I'll be back with many more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys.